Hi, my name is Sally Bernard, an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer. Welcome to Call Me Zena, a true story into the spiritual realms. Join me as I sit and discuss the journey of self-discovery and awakening with the help of my spirit guides. It's time to trust your intuition. This is your inner knowings. Through questions and points of conversation, I can help others feel empowered. With the ability to touch people's past lives, I help others connect and not feel alone. Sit with me and call in live, 888-994-4995. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Before I start my show, I just want to make an announcement. I'm not going to be doing it at 3 o'clock. I'm going to be doing this show at 2:30 on Mondays. So anybody that's listening, please call in next Monday from 2:30. Happy to hear all your comments. I'm going to open up to the studio today, and anybody that wants to hear and have an answer from their loved ones, I'm happy to answer it. I go into, as you know, a channeling of, and I'm able to answer the questions from your loved ones. Anything that you want to ask me, UFOs that we have been talking about a little bit on my show, but I'm going to open this up now. Please call into the studio, 888, oh, I should know the number by now, 994-4095, studio 4985, thank you. This is crazy, but I am in a sort of a trance, although you don't realize it, and I am, so I don't always get the number correct, but it's right in front of me. So please call in, 888-994-4995, Studio A. Right now I'm going to open it up to anybody in the studio that has any questions for me. I'm happy to answer them. Okay, here we go.
Okay, so you are claiming that you've been abducted by aliens?
Absolutely, Laura.
So my question is, do you believe they're benign or they have agenda?
They have an agenda, but as I have said before on my show, it's not necessarily, I'm not scared of them. They are here to help us. I would say, I'm going to go with 100%, 98% of them are here to help us understand what's going on and to wake up. I actually got some of these messages a little while ago, this last week, that they're here to help us. We're going through a transition here on Earth, and the ones that are helping us, that are giving me or many people that are understanding this are able to accept their messages, to wake up to the reality that we are going through a transition here and to help us go through this transition. There is a percentage, a very small percentage, that are not here necessarily to help us, but that's where I'm coming from to understand more of this. Do you have a question as far as that goes?
Well, you said that you had out-of-body experience. Like, how did it happen? Like, do you remember these things? Normally people don't remember these experiences.
Thank you for asking me that question.
So please elaborate.
Yeah, because we only met a couple of weeks ago, but I did open up to you, and actually through me discussing it helps me understand more of what happened. At first I had an out-of-body experience. I knew nothing about this, but what I realized, and later on the more I understood what was happening to me, I was on many spaceships because I can actually see the crafts that I was on. So I actually wrote about this 18 years ago, that I was flying through astral projection and going to different planets. Today, where I'm understanding a lot more and I'm meeting people in my life that understand where I'm coming from, that I was actually on spaceships going to different places, planets. And I had mentioned this before, 18 years ago, this was completely unacceptable. I mean, but I did document it, and I did come out with my first book. But today, people are getting more interested, and I feel that I have an agenda now to actually explain this to people, if this is happening. Many things are coming back to me now on that subject.
Can you describe the planets or the ships?
Yes, I actually can, which I had put in detail with my first book. I would go to many different planets. It wasn't unsimilar to where we are here. I remember writing it. It's very clear to me, although it was 18 years ago, I see, as you're asking me the question, I can see in detail what I actually saw. And many of the planets that I was visiting were very similar to us. The people looked a little different, but I remember writing that actually the houses were very similar, with the white picket fences, you know, that we talk about, and little dogs there. But they were on a slightly higher vibrational energy, which I now know, because they were explaining things to me that I really wasn't absolutely understanding here on our. We are very dense in this 3D. They are a little bit more higher than us, maybe going to a 5D if people understand this. So to keep it in perspective, I was lifting my vibrations up to be able to talk to them. So I'm only just beginning to understand really actually what happened to me. I just thought, although astral projection I didn't understand, but it was more normal because many people do astral project, and that's what.
Was it like, how did you feel it? Was it like astral dream? Was it, how, describe, like what happened?
Actually, it was a little bit of both, Lola. Thank you for asking that question. For many, many years, and I did have my guide Aldo here to explain it to me, although he had always said there is more that you will remember. I didn't know what it was, but a lot of mine were astral projecting. I would stay around Earth, so to speak, and I would see places here of people that I knew. I could actually visit with them. They didn't see me. But there were many times that I was definitely taken off this planet. The majority of times I was taken off this planet. And only 18 years, you know, that's a long time that I really didn't understand it, but I am today, and I'm very willing to open up to this now, to understand more, to help other people. I'm not alone with this. Many, many people are doing this. They just don't know what's happening to them.
So you were in a dream and they took you?
Well, I was asleep, let's say, asleep, but the only thing that I can tell you is that I remember even 18, 19 years, it's probably 19 years now, every single thing that happened. You know, when you experience something, you have a memory. In a dream, it fades. This has never, ever faded from my memory. So I remember. And I mean, yes, it's controversial and people are saying, what is she talking about? But I feel that from me opening up with this, it's going to help people, and even attracting, as yourself here, to even be able to ask me the questions. And Russ, who is in the studio today, I feel that, you know, they talk about the law of attraction. I am meeting people that have had very similar experiences. So it's making me feel more that I want to open up more to this. Do you have any more? Russ, I see you just walked into the studio too. So anything that you want to ask me, I'm here to answer. I mean, it doesn't have to be about UFOs, but I feel that this is a topic now that's becoming very important to people. They have sightings. There's many, many things today that we didn't have. I do not want to make my whole show about UFOs because there are people that want to hear from their loved ones. But right now, I think it's a very important subject.
Sally, you have a question on the screen.
Okay.
It's from Abraham asking you, what are his guides saying to him today?
Okay. All right. Let me tune into this. They are giving you advice. And I know we had an opportunity to speak about a half an hour ago as you're in the studio here. I feel that the tingling, I think you had mentioned to me that you're getting, is that they're trying to connect with you, okay? Do not look at this as a negative. Look at it as a positive. I believe that you're able yourself to understand the messages. Listen to yourself, the messages you're going to have. They are giving you messages, but please don't ever think that they're trying to contact you with a negativity. They're not. And I told you this. It's a positive. So look at this. And if I can't tell you right now what the messages are, but if you want to maybe a little later on in the show come back with it, you have received a message, listen and turn this into a positive. They're trying to give you direction. That's the word I'm getting, direction of where you're going, okay? It's very important, this message to you, okay? Does that help you a little bit?
Yes.
Good, good. I'm not sure of the actual message, but you will be able to interpret this. And if you want to come back with me and ask me a little bit more on it, I'll be happy to elaborate a little bit more. Okay, I'm opening up to anybody that wants to call in or anyone in the studio.
All right, Sally. So the other night, I was driving on the highway late at night, and I was going southbound on 95, about to get off at Atlantic Boulevard, and I was in the left lane, and then the next thing I know, I'm in the right lane, getting off the exit with like no recollection of like how I switched from that lane to that lane in a matter of like seconds. And when I was driving underneath the Atlantic Boulevard sign, like getting off the exit, I felt like I switched into like a different dimension or something, and it like felt super weird. Like I don't like to use the word weird too much, but it was so weird. It was like I felt like a whoom kind of thing that happened, and like I saw like a shift happen without seeing it. I don't know. It was really interesting.
Did. Before you even said that, I wanted to tell you that you switched into another timeline.
Yeah.
Okay, and this does happen to us. It's very subtle, but for some reason you needed to shift into another timeline. It's parallel with this, and I can talk more about this maybe on another show. It's very parallel, but it was very important for you to shift a timeline. I can't tell you exactly what would have happened on the timeline that you were in, but you listened and it happened to you. So I'm very glad that it did, okay?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Is it possible to like feel and like to see that? Like,
yes,
to like know when that happens?
Absolutely. If you're aware of it, we shift all the time in and out of different timelines. What is going to be beneficial for us? Sometimes, and for me, just to give you an example, I was traveling, and usually sometimes it's in a car, because there could be another car coming, and you know, we don't know what's going to happen, but we'll shift into another timeline, and whatever may have happened will not happen, because now we're seeing it from a different point of view in a different timeline where nothing happened. It's a whole show, and I'll be happy to do that one day, but I truly believe that that's what happened to you. Before you even said that, I knew as you were asking me the question.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
I think it was like a glitch, they call it. Like everything, past, present, and future exist simultaneously.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like in our, like what we call real world, we see it as real, like linear time, but in reality, real reality, it's exists simultaneously, so you just tapped into another dimension. It happened to me actually on the way to the airport a few years ago. I was going fly overseas, and there was a traffic. I was late on the plane, and what happened, I'm on 95, and there is no way I'm gonna make it to the plane. It was so jammed, the highway. And all of a sudden, I'm like, let me try. No GPS is back then, so let me try side roads. No GPS. I don't know how I'm gonna end up, but I'll take a, chance. So I'm going like along the 95, couple blocks, and I'm like, it's jammed also. I'm going back to 95. After, I don't know, 2-3 blocks, literally, I'm going back to 95. No cars on 95. No cars, silence, stillness.
Well, that is actually for our own benefit, Lola.
What happened? I still don't know to this point, but it was empty 95. From like so much jam traffic to nothingness. I made it perfectly clear, like the God source, clear up 95 all the way to the airport, like this.
Well, we'll switch our timelines when it's beneficial for us. It's hard to understand, and it's very subtle because we live in parallel universes, so we'll switch to another universe. Let's say, and I'm not saying particularly that this was the reason that it happened, but there could have been an accident on that particular timeline. So you're going to switch to another timeline. I myself am only beginning to understand this. It's happened to me several times. But the way that you can sometimes know that you're in another timeline is that you're going on a journey where you know that there are certain buildings. And it's so subtle, but the building that you're expecting to be there may not be there, but everything else is similar. So that we do it as, I'm going to say, as a safety precaution for us. We're able to do that. it's another show, and I myself am just beginning to understand that, but it's so very interesting, and I think you saved yourself from something that may have happened.
I think
to
just tapped into another dimension. I don't know
You
what
did.
happened.
You
But
tapped
it's
into
not
it.
just it was a traffic for a few blocks. It
Right.
was when I came back to 95, there was not even one car. It was stillness and silence.
It's happened to
It's
me.
like everything was wiped out for me. To
I
get
call
to
it
the
the
airport.
twilight zone. You know, if
I
you
don't
ever
know what
watch it.
happened till this
No,
day.
it was beneficial for you to do that. But thank you for sharing that.
Sally, you've got a couple questions. Robin Perry writes in, her stepson passed away. Do you know what happened?
Hi, Robin. First of all, I haven't heard from you in a while. I'm happy that you called into the show. Yes, it was his time, Robin. I kind of remember seeing some posts on Facebooks from you. All I'm saying is that there is nothing that I believe, and you're not in the studio, so it's hard for me to ask you these questions, but I believe he was traveling somewhere and he got lost. I'm not sure if I'm correct in this is what happened, but this is what I'm feeling, Robin. And it was his time. So don't ever think to yourself that there was more that you could have done. I believe that you were trying to find him, and eventually you did. Please, if you are able to answer this, I'd like to know if I'm giving you the correct information. When you found him, it was a little too late, but it was his time, okay? It was his time. Thank you for calling in.
And Abraham writes in, I've been waking up around 3-ish or 4 lately. Is that my guys waking me?
Absolutely. If you read my first book, everything was happening to me at 3 in the morning. I believe with what we call the veil, it's very thin at that point and they're able to communicate. I did not know that, but I'm documenting 3 o'clock in the morning from many of my messages. But they're able to communicate more with us at that time for some reason. There is no time on the other side, but for some reason in our now, the veil gets a little easier for them to be able to communicate with us. Thank you.
Oh, hold on. Hi, Sally.
Josh.
I don't really have a question, but do you have anything, I guess? Or I might ask the same one Abraham did. What is my spirit guide saying to
They're
me?
saying to you very similar what they're saying to him too. First of all, just know you're all in the right place. And I'm sure that's been, you can feel that, you know that. They're with you, they never leave you. So if there's any question that you want to have an answer to, ask them. And then if you want it interpreted, if I can do that for you, I will. But you just listen to your own intuition, Josh. I know you can do this, and you know you can. Okay. So you will get your answers through that. But you are on the right track. Both of you are.
And then how do I get rid of fear?
By saying to yourself, literally, it's as easy as this: I don't want to be fearful. Just know that you can do that. The belief in that you can get rid of fear helps you. Just know that you can, okay? So if you're fearful of something, stop for a minute. If you want to meditate, whatever you need to do, but say to yourself, yes, this is fearful for me, but it's not going to affect me. It's not going to. I need to carry on with what I'm doing. And this will help you greatly. They're there to help you. Have people helping you.
Thank you, Sally.
You're welcome. Bye-bye, Josh. Okay, I'm opening up to the studio or anybody that wants to call in.
Well, Sally, how you doing today?
Hi, Russ.
One of the things that you know is that because you had Aldo with you, and he helped you to realize that spirit guides were with you all the time, but you didn't understand that at that point in time, right?
No, I did not.
Right.
He helped me.
But for every entity that comes to this planet, they also bring spirit guides with them all the time, and they have no clue. In many instances, they don't have a clue that they're with them because they don't concentrate. How does one begin to concentrate and get in touch with the spirit guides that came with you on this planet? That came with each of us. How do you do that?
We all have a spirit
I
guide,
understand.
and not just one. We have several spirit
Right.
guides.
How do you tap into them?
By using your own intuition. If you're feeling that you want a question answered, as you're doing to me on the show, as people do, and they ask me questions. Listen to your own intuition. We can all do this. The thing is, we need to know that we can do this, Russ. So if you have a question or something bothering you or something you want to know the answer to, talk to yourself. That's all you need to do, because you're talking to them too. Just say, I'm not sure who I'm bringing in, but give me the answer to this. And then listen. Quieten your mind and listen. They're here to help you. We just don't know that they're around us. I'm here to give my message by example, because I've had many answers that way. He's not the only one, but I guess he's my main guide, as he was here now. And I get a lot of valid information from him, and I ask him to validate it for me. And he knows my triggers. He knows that I'll turn the radio on, and certain songs I know if it comes on the radio that he has the answer for me. And he knows the songs that I know that would make me think, well, he's around, and they come on within 2 minutes of me turning the radio on. I can only explain this by example of what's happened to me. The most important thing is to believe that this is so. You don't have to understand it. I didn't in the beginning, and I still don't. I'm still learning. But just know that they are around us. They will help us any way that we want them to.
Yeah, well, most people are not in touch with themselves, so maybe that's part of the problem.
Well, that's why I'm giving this message, because I'm trying to, maybe we call it wake up people in this, and it's difficult. But you don't even have to believe this in the beginning. Just maybe just, and I use this term a lot, fake it till you make it. So what? So you're talking to yourself. We're not. We're talking to them. But if you believe you're talking to yourself and you have the answers, then go with it. That's all I can do right now.
Does everybody have a spiritual guide?
Everybody has a spiritual guide.
Is there such a thing as a soul that does not have a spiritual guide?
No, not as far as I know. We all come in with spiritual guides, because we actually, with our journey here, we talk to them in our other dimension, and we still do, because I believe we have a higher self that we talk to. So they will give us and continue. They're not going to stop because we came to this planet. They're still around us. We just have to listen. I wrote poetry the same way as I did my art about stop, listen. They will talk to you. Again, you don't have to even understand it, but listen to what you're hearing within yourself. We all have this ability to do it. We just don't always believe it.
And is our spiritual guide always finding us to seek truth, or are there spiritual guides that work against that?
I like that question, because I'm going to say, just as I'm hearing from them, most of the time they're here to help us to seek the truth. But just as anything, Freddie, there are people that mischievous, I'm going to say. I'm not going to say light and dark, because we know about that, but let's forget that. There are people that will try to give us maybe the wrong information. But I think if we're in control of this, we're going to kind of sense it. And it's kind of not exactly going on along with my message to say that you listen, but once in a while we'll get a joker, let's say, that will play games just as they do here. So if it doesn't really make sense to you with what you're hearing, ask another question. That's what I'm hearing them tell me.
Well, do guides always tell you, or do they test to see what spirit will bring forward?
They're not going to give us more than we can handle with any situation. We've heard that expression, and many people say that. So they will give us information. Like, for example, and I think I've mentioned this before, and I use a car because, sometimes we can go in a different direction with a car. So if we're driving and we suddenly hear something in our head say, I don't want to go right, I need to go left, although our journey is to take us right, stop for that second and go left. What's the worst thing that can happen? You may be late for an appointment, but only a few minutes. So go with what you feel. I believe that's very, very important. I've done that a few times. Or even if you're at a traffic light and the light turns green and something says, I'm not going right now, stop. and wait a few minutes and wait till, it doesn't matter if anyone's honking you, that's okay. Just go with your own intuition. It's very important to listen to that. That's
So then the guides aren't telling you what to do, they're bringing you to the door of choice?
Well, they're bringing you into, yes, they're helping you. They're telling you, just the same as somebody might say to you here in this dimension, I am a psychic and a medium, and I might hear somebody say to me, if someone's asking me a question, should I go to that interview, let's say at 2:00? And I might hear someone say, no, tell them to go at 3. There may be a reason for that. I don't always have all the answers, of course, and we don't have. But follow your intuition. That's what's really, really important.
And Sally, Robin says yes.
Okay, Robin, thank you for answering, because I need the validation too. And I do feel whichever you thought happened, you are correct. Okay, Robin? And we'll talk another time, but thank you for the answer. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
And Abraham says, how can I forgive somebody who wants me dead?
Okay, difficult, very difficult. But forgiveness starts with ourselves. And I've had a few people explain to me of some things that have happened to them that is so hard to forgive. But you know what? If you carry that burden, you're hurting yourself too. Forgiveness is very important. Is it easy? No. But it's definitely worth thinking that, if something happens to you, try to forgive that person, because actually in the end you're only hurting yourself by the anger that the situation, whatever it is hurting you so much. So try to take that away and try to forgive. It's very important to forgive. Do I follow that all the time? No, I don't. But I know that it's important to do that. Yes, let's take a commercial for a few minutes. Thank you. And please tune in or don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you. This world, this life, this illusion. What is going on, we ask? What is happening? Why not take time and see what is happening? This world as we know it, it seems so real and yet so far away from where we've come. Corruption, greed, anger, power, revenge. Please wake up. We can change what is around us. How, we may ask? Learn to go back to where we were. Then we will have the clues. Then we can change and go forward. Please take the time. Do not fall into the game which we have put upon ourselves. We can change. We can make a difference. We have the power, each and every one of us. Go in peace. Go with love. Go as one. Zena.
A true story, Call Me Zena, is the telling of Sally Bernard. Born in London, England at the end of the Second World War, she came to the U.S. in 1979. A mother of 2 and grandmother of 4, she settled in Florida and worked in real estate. While going through a difficult time in her life, she was admitted into a hospital overnight in December of 2005. While settling back into her life, she began having vivid dreams and documenting them. By the 3rd dream, a lady gave her a message to draw. With no artistic background or interest in art or history, Sally listened to her dreams and grabbed paper and crayons. Today, she has over 150 pieces of inspiring art and poetry. This book follows her journey and interpretations of these messages. She describes in detail how she's able to astral project and who she has met along her travels, including her spirit guides. This book will show you how anything is possible with an open mind. These events have changed Sally's life's direction, and this book will show you how to change yours. Purchase Call Me Zena on Amazon today.
You have been watching Call Me Zena with your host, Sally Bernard. As an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer, know that you could always seek me out for resources. Visit artbysallybernard.com today. Now, back to the show. Hi, everybody. Actually, I just listened to my commercial on the show. I just want to mention that I have a new book coming out that should be out in about 2 months. My old one just basically gives the travels, but the new one is going to explain so much more of what happens to me. don't often talk about this on my show because I am in some sort of a trance, but I just feel that I want to tell you that in 2 months my new book will be out with many, many more things in it. Thank you. I'm opening up again to anybody that wants to call in or anyone in the studio.
Quick question. What do you think of the concept of reincarnation?
Okay, I love that question because I am completely, if there's such a thing as 101% believer in reincarnation. I did not always feel that way, Lola. For many years, I just couldn't understand how we kept coming back. But this is going back about 20 years. From here on in, 20 years ago, when my guide actually visited me here and stayed with me for 18, 19 years, he talked so much about previous lifetimes that I'd been in. I was drawing many, many drawings from incarnations from centuries ago. And I began to question myself, how can I be drawing things that I have never seen that are factual? Because I went into the internet and I saw signs and symbols from the Renaissance period. I wasn't that interested in history, and yet I'm drawing from that. And he was able to tell me because he was in physicality, so I wasn't imagining what he was saying to me. He told me of my lifetime that I'd had with him and many other lifetimes. So yes, I am completely a believer in reincarnation, and I believe many more people are understanding that today.
Sally, if we have guides, it just bewilders me. Then why do we have so many questions about how we feel? In other words, how to forgive, how to say I'm sorry. Why is it that it's become a challenge and we have to tend to doing things that we should normally do?
Okay, that's a good question too, Freddie. But to me, of my understanding, we are totally controlled to think a different way to who we really are. So through that control, we don't listen the way that we should. If we, as children, are growing up to understand that there are people maybe that we don't see because children have imaginary friends, and we're told, and not with everybody today, it's becoming a little more acceptable. Don't listen to that. Your imagination is crazy. There's nobody there. But if we were told as children, listen, maybe there's somebody, your imaginary friend is trying to give you an explanation of what's going on. As children, we grow up to accept that. But we grow up to accept that this is not normal. This is strange. So if we could just begin, and I always say that I can teach maybe by example of things that have happened to me, that we listen, and through my poetry I say listen and stop and listen to what our intuition, our gut is saying. It's real, it's very real. So it's hard to maybe change our point of view, but if more people come out with the fact that they're hearing messages and they're not crazy by listening to these messages, the more we will understand that there's much more going on in this world today than what we know.
Sally, ever walk into a place and you've been there a ton of times and it just feels different, and you look around, you say, did you change anything? They say no. Did you change the lighting? No. But you know it's different. Is there a message in that?
Yes, I love that question, Dawn. Yes, to me now it's making more sense than it did. We're in a different timeline. So if we walk into the same, excuse me one second. We've switched timelines for some reason. Oh my gosh, what is happening to me? They're working on me.
Bless you.
They probably don't want me to talk about this. What is going on? Okay, I'm coming back now. Yes, it's a different timeline. It's very similar, the restaurant, but we'll see different. Maybe the table is in a different place than when we were last there. It's very subtle. We're in different timelines. They didn't want me to answer that for some reason.
But what does that mean to be in a different timeline? Because you're sitting at the restaurant, you're sitting at the nail salon, you know you have an appointment, you know you're there. You think, why would it look different?
Well, it's very subtle, but it might be more beneficial. My eyes are watering now. Guides, help me here. It's very subtle, and maybe we're meant to, something may be happening. We change timelines much more than we know. and understand. But if something is not going to be, or maybe a negative in that timeline, we'll switch. Where the next timeline, it's not going to be a negative, it's going to be a positive. We do this all the time. And you know what? The more that I listen to some of these programs, and I listen to Gaia a lot, it's pretty well, people understand this, that are studying this, that we do have different timelines. We go to a time that's going to be more beneficial for us. Not always, but some of the time.
Do we pick our timeline?
We do subconsciously. We don't know that, or our guides are helping us. Because if again, I'm going to use the example of a car. If we're heading towards maybe an accident, or somebody's going to go into us for some reason, we need to switch a timeline where that car may not be coming towards us. So we do this a lot. Again, it's subtle, and I had mentioned this. It could be something that a building is there, or a certain tree, or whatever it is, won't be there in that timeline. We have parallel universes, which I'd be happy to talk about some other time. So we usually follow what's going to be beneficial for us. Our journey is to learn, to try to wake up to what's going on. We call it awakening. And it's really important, especially at this particular point in our lifetime where we are now on this planet. There are many people coming in as children here to give us this message. And it's really important that we begin to understand that, because our planet is, and they're actually telling me this, our planet is going through a very similar time. This has happened before, and it's not to frighten us, because there's always something else waiting for us. But it's really important that we begin to open up to what we would call that is not normal of way of our thinking, because there's so many people from different dimensions that are here to help us. They don't want anything to happen to our planet, but if it does, the more we're awake, we're not going to feel it so much, if that makes sense. I feel that I'm being channeled that, but it's very important for us to know this. Please try to comprehend or understand the things that are going on right now. We're going through a transition here in this planet.
Abraham writes in, he's born on January 19th, 1999. What's the meaning of the number 9?
Offhand, I honestly feel that I can't tell you. I can talk more about numbers because I associate with 1111. Well, go into the internet. Offhand, I'm not sure about 9, but if you feel it's a very significant number, please research that. There's plenty of information on the internet. I do feel that I do want to tell you, yes, it is an important number. That's just coming to me, but I don't know enough to be able to tell you.
Sally, what would you suggest to someone who can recognize like signs, such as like angel numbers or like your guides sending you messages, but what would you suggest, or what steps would you provide to someone who has a hard time understanding what the message is?
Okay, that again is what I would call a very open-ended question. It's a good question, but just if you are getting certain feelings or certain numbers coming to you, as I did in the very beginning with 1111, just try to open your mind up actually to know that they are trying. They'll never give up giving you messages, but they want you to respond in some way if you can. So they'll continue. But just kind of, again, I'm going to listen. The only way that we can determine that it's a message is by listening to our intuition. Listen to your intuition. If you can see repetitive numbers, that's their way of telling you they're around us. Mine was 1111 for many, many years. I kept seeing it. If I went to bed at 10:30, I would wake up at 1111. They were trying to tell me that they're around us. They are around us all the time. We just need to understand and listen to this. They're not here to help us, hurt us. They're our angels. They're our guardians. They're here to help us.
Thank you.
Sally, does that mean that we have to think more about what we're doing when they open the window and give us an idea of what it is that we're trying to learn? I mean, are they teaching us the art of learning, and we still have to finish off the sentence? We still have to finish off the action?
They're actually just trying to let you know that they are around us. I mean, they can't interfere too much with our lives because we have free will. But if they feel that we're going in a wrong direction, they're here to help us. They can't change what we would call our destiny, but just be aware. If you ask them a question, you're opening up because we have free will, but you're asking them, just as I would ask you a question. I'm giving you permission to give me the answer of that question. You're doing the same for them. So whilst they can't interfere with us, if we ask them to, they're able to do that as far as I know.
So they will take us to answers. In other words, to meet other people or situations to help us find the answers?
They will absolutely help us find. I would go as far to say is that they have the answers for us, but we have to listen. It's not always easy. You know, if this happens, and this is maybe an advice that's just coming to me, maybe go to a psychic, and they will be able to, because they are messengers for them. I can give you a message. I'm just the messenger. I don't have to know the whole situation, but I can tell you what they may be wanting you to know. So my advice is to go to if you're interested enough to be listening to this show, then go to a psychic if you can't quite interpret it yourself.
Or go to people who are in that realm.
I'm sorry, Freddie.
Go to people that are involved in that realm.
Yes, absolutely. We can do this. Only if you think you can't, you probably won't be able to interpret it. But if you listen to your intuition, I'm telling you, anybody can do this if they believe it and they train themselves. I'm not unique with this message, but you have to believe that you can. That's very important, that.
So we could be in a room full of people who are in the same realm, and answers to things that we didn't think we had can be staring right in front of us.
Absolutely. The answers are, or as I have said, I'm listening to my own prose that I wrote many years ago. The answers are all around us in people, places, and things. They try to whilst they can't change what we want to do because of our free will, they will put certain things there to make you think and maybe change your own interpretation of what you were going to do to something that's going to better your life a little bit more here.
Sally, I heard you say today that we pick our parents. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yes. We have contracts when we come in, Freddie. And for myself, I didn't understand astrology that much, but today I'm seeing how much it makes sense. We have like a council of people around us on the other side of this when we're outside of our illusion here, which would what I call it, and we talk and we discuss, and they tell us many things that are going to happen. We plan our life. Now, we have that contract with certain people. It's not set in stone because we have different timelines, we have different exits when we're going to leave this lifetime here. But we basically have a roadmap. We don't always stick to it completely, but they're here to help us all the way along.
Do you mind talking a little bit about the number 1111 and what it did for you? Because I also see 1111 like probably more than I should.
Okay. No, I like that because it did happen to me. This happened to me way before my spirit guide who actually came and materialized here. I knew something was going on because I didn't know too much about numerology at all, and I still don't know a whole lot today. But I kept seeing 1111 to the point that it was ridiculous to wake up in the middle of the night. So I got interested. It got my attention, so to speak. And I actually went somewhere and there was a whole group of ladies talking about this number 1111. And I'm thinking, well, this is strange. They're also seeing 1111. So what it was to give me the attention that I needed to give 1111. And I then found out that there was a whole book, and many books, by a lady called Solera, who has written about the numbers 1111. It's a type of awakening. I was ready to wake up, but I didn't understand it. So I read more, and I was reading the books about 1111, and it made so much sense to me about things that were happening to me, the people that were seeing this sign that they were beginning to wake up to something more, and that was me. So that was their way of attracting my to give me the answers of why I was seeing 1111. There's much more to it, and again, that could be another show. But it's important, again, to listen to what you're seeing and listen to the answers if you have a question. I couldn't ignore that. It was too important to me.
And what book would you like suggest to someone like me who's like very receiving of like having that awakening? So what book would you recommend?
I would tell you to go buy well, this is a long time ago, but I'm still sure the books are in existence. She's written, Solera is her name, she's written many books on 1111, and I could relate very much. So go into the internet. I believe that a lot of them are out, I don't know, but just go, and if not, come to me and I'll help you find something as far as that goes.
Perfect, thank you. Question is, do we live in realms or on planets?
Do we live?
In realms or on planets?
Okay, there's two answers to that. We are here on this planet, and that's very important. I don't want people to think that they are somewhere else too, because that's not going to be beneficial for us. But I believe we are in many different places. There's many aspects of ourself, but to answer that more simply, that we have a higher self that's acting from another place, and we have ourselves here. I can go more into depth. We don't have the time on this show, but maybe we'll do another show apart from that. But yes, while we're here, we need to be here, but just know that there's more going on somewhere else.
When people want to get a lot of information, would you recommend Elizabeth April or Dolores Cannon or Sylvia Brown? With whom would you touch base with to get more information on this?
Well, my answer is because we all have different questions and
Right.
we all have different interests.
Right.
So the internet is so vast right now, and we can get a lot of information. So whatever subject that you may be, UFOs, be it past lives or whatever, there are people that have written about this. So that's a good question, Russ, and thank you. So what you relate to more, that you may want to know more about right now, is go into the internet and ask who are the authors that have written about reincarnation,
Right.
or about UFOs. I could name a lot of people, but it's not, I don't know who's listening right now. So the best thing to do is go in where your interest lies, look up the books, and then buy the book.
What do you think of Dolores Cannon? She's been doing research for, 50, 60 years. She's gone now, and she's left a lot of books and seminars. What do you think about Dolores Cannon?
Very beneficial. It helped me in the very beginning. Actually, I started off with listening to Sylvia Brown, who has also passed. But a lot of what I was going through, and I mean, there's so many people that could be listening to this show, but I could relate so much because I was somehow led to watch and listen to what she was, or go to her writings, and I could relate. So don't disregard, if you're interested in a certain subject, and my book will be coming out, and of course I
Right.
want to talk about Call Me Zena, which is going to be the new, completely new version in a couple of months, where I have a lot of experiences that people might be able to relate to. But again, it's not just me. There are many authors that have written on certain topics. So my advice to people that want to know more, UFOs or whatever it may be, go in, look it up, and then buy the book on the author that's written about it.
How about a hypnotherapist? Some people want to do hypnotherapy and do life
Well,
regressions.
that's also very good. And as you know me, and I know you, Russ, and I
Right.
also, because I have been, as far as I know, I feel that I've been abducted many times. I want to go to someone that specializes in hypnotherapy that can help me go back, because I do remember a lot, but there's a lot my memory is coming back. So I recommend, if people have had out-of-body experiences or whatever it is that you may have or you want to know more about, and you want to have a deeper understanding, look up hypnotherapy. I need to go to someone that maybe specializes more into being able to out of this planet onto somewhere else. I haven't done that as yet, but many of my memory is coming back. I'm not alone. So just look up what you're interested in. We are in an age where the internet and computers is very important for us, and you know, we didn't have that many years ago. Today we can do much more. Do your own research. Do your own research on what you want to find out about. It's all out there. I mean, some of the things may not be, or it might be harder to find, but it is there. by listening or listening to authors, or again, and I talk about Gaia a lot on my program. There are many, many subjects that it's a TV internet show that, well, you can subscribe to Gaia, where there's so many numerous different people that have come forward. They call them, a lot of them, with whistleblowers with this information. So not, obviously I want you to tune into my show too and ask the questions, but there are many, many people out there that are doing what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the question.
Sally, what makes you different from all of these other people that are doing what they're doing?
Well, I'm not different. I've just tapped into something, and I'm very open, and I feel that they're giving me a lot of information for that. I'm not the only one. I was able to do a lot of the drawings because I became an artist. So to me, I also needed proof, because it could just have been my imagination. But here I'm drawing from many different lifetimes, the signs and symbols from that lifetime. Here my guide shows up. So maybe there's a slight, not different, but I had a lot of validation in knowing that I was on the right track for myself. We all are. We just need to open up, and as far as I can tell you, you will get many things to validate that for you on your journey here, if you're ready. Not everybody is ready. We're all on different paths. But I was ready, so I listened.
Sally, can someone, how do I ask this? Can someone else talk to someone else's guides? Can they see them and hear them?
I believe they can. If they ask, it's no different than here. Let's say that you have some people around you and you may want me to talk to them because it's a validation of something that you might be thinking that you want to know. So you're going to introduce me to them. I believe that's the same way. I have my own personal guides, but sometimes there are questions that maybe they need someone just like here, maybe a little more experience in that particular area. So they will come in just like here and tell them, hey, talk to her. She needs the answer on this. I don't have it. It's the same thing.
Well, can these two people be on the same frequency that you can hear it while others cannot?
Yes, you have to be on the same frequency. And to explain that, while I'm even doing my show, I am lifting my frequency. I believe my guide who was here on earth was on a higher frequency, but he's still with me, so they can lower their frequency. The main thing is that the frequencies attach to each other. I am definitely on a higher frequency and able to do this program, and I am a lot of the time because I'm aware of it. But there are higher frequencies than what I'm on, but they come down to meet you on that frequency. If it's an important question and you want the answer, they may not be at that level, but they'll get someone who is.
Then the main question is, if I can see someone else's guides and they're telling me things, am I supposed to tell the person who can't see them or hear them, am I supposed to tell them what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing?
Okay, that's a good question, and I can't tell you that I have the exact answer on that, because Freddie, I often get messages, maybe someone isn't well, and I'd asked my guide here and asked him what he did. He would tell them in a subtle way to look after their health. We don't want to frighten somebody, but we also have some sort of obligation to tell somebody something if you see it. I'm very tactful as far as I can be with this particular subject, because if I don't tell them and something happens, I'm going to feel really bad. So I'll try to do it in the best way that I can without frightening them, because that's going to make it even worse, because, if you get very fearful, that's not going to help either. So we need to explain it in a certain way, I think. Best to go into yourself and ask your guides, how do I tell this person that? Maybe someone's crossing a road and you feel, or in a car, I'm going to use the car again, maybe they should go a different way. I will tell them that. That's up to them now with what they want to do.
So it's tricky telling them what you see. I got you. Okay.
Well, I believe we have some sort of obligation if we do. I think we should tell them, but do it again, if it's possible, in a tactful way, because you can make a situation that may not be that bad a lot worse if you scare them, if that makes sense.
Okay.
There are a lot of people who want to do homework.
A lot of people want to
Start doing homework because they've been programmed in one way, and they really don't have the information about what you bring to the table, because they don't usually get it from the church or the synagogue or the college or the university. So where would you tell them to start researching? What books would you recommend? What television shows? What would you do in addition to your book? What would you tell them to do?
Again, Russ, it's absolutely, for each individual, it's a little different. Again, as I had said before, go into the internet, do your own research.
Okay.
I can only tell people to open up and do their research. I can't answer everybody's questions because we all have different, well, I'll do the best if they call in, but we all have different roads, so to speak, that we follow. So where you feel you have an interest and you want to know more, which is great, doesn't matter what it is, because you're beginning to open up, because we're programmed a certain way, and now we're beginning to unprogram ourselves to learn more. There are people that are writing about it, so go in.
Would you tell them to look up Neil Keenan?
Well, I don't like to really mention necessarily
all right.
names, but
All right.
but if there's somebody
But he's at a higher level. I know. I understand. He's dealing
Right.
with something, the cabal. Yeah. So that's really, okay. All right.
oh my gosh, it's coming over me again, this whatever it is.
What happened to Dolores Cannon?
If you feel that you have an interest, look up Dolores Cannon, who started later on in life, who is very beneficial to answering your questions. She's a good person to watch.
Yep. So they can go to that, or they can go to a website, www.nohoax.net, and her books are there on that website.
Yeah, I do not know
I
what's
see.
happening to me today. This is really strange. I think we're coming to the end of the show. So hopefully you've all have learned something from what I'm talking about. I love your questions. Keep calling them, coming into to my show and listening. It is going to be, we're coming to the end of the show at 2:30 now on a Monday. Happy to hear from you all. And the studio, please, if anybody is local in Boca Raton, please come into the Brooklyn Cafe. I'm here to answer any of your questions.
How about some of the programs that you have done? You've done about 18 programs in the last 2 months?
Oh, I've done more than that now,
More than that?
once a week.
So for people who want to go back and look at some of the programs that you have done, where would they go?
Just go into Call Me Zena onto the Brooklyn Cafe, and we have past recordings on anything. I have maybe, I'm not sure, Dawn, maybe Freddie can tell me. I must have about 28 now at least.
What www. The Brooklyn Cafe?
Brooklyn Cafe, Call Me Zena.
Okay,
go into
and then Call Me Zena,
and
okay.
you can get any of the past recordings.
Not a problem, great.
Thank you for bringing that
Right.
up. Thank you, everybody, and I'll see you not the same time, 2:30 next week on a Monday. Look forward to it. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Coincidence or not, it's time to trust your intuition and knowings. Thank you for joining me through this journey of self-discovery and awakening with the help of my spirit guides. I'm Sally Bernard, and you can find my book, artwork, and contact through artbysallybernard.com. Join us next week. This has been Call Me Zena.